Hi everyone, it's the Reverend Beth Simmons here with your midweek moment on this solstice. It is, as you can see, nighttime, which is appropriate because this is the shortest day, the longest night of the year. So happy winter solstice, a happy Yule to those who celebrate. And for those who anticipate this day every year, just because it means that tomorrow the days will start getting longer again, the sun will start returning. Blessings to you as well. I did want to remind those of you who are local to Hancock, New Hampshire, of two services we have coming up this week and a change for Sunday and the following Sunday. So tomorrow night, Thursday, there will be our longest night service. That's at 7 p.m. at the Hancock Congregational Church. This is a service that is geared towards anyone who is struggling with the holiday season, whether it's because of grief, whether it's fresh grief or old grief. You know, there's an empty spot at your holiday table and you struggle with that, whether it's because of mental illness, or loneliness or loss or whatever, or nothing at all. You are welcome into a quiet, contemplative space where we will acknowledge the different pain that trying to be merry in a holiday season while you're not feeling it is hard. And when you come into that space, we hope that you will find a sense of community and know that you are not alone in those feelings, and also a sense of hope amidst your struggles. Then Saturday night, Christmas Eve, we are planning on having our traditional candlelit lessons and carols service at 7 p.m. Now, the weather for the next few days is predicted to be tricky. Blessings, PS, and prayers for all the highway department workers and line workers and everyone who's going to be gearing up just when everyone else is off for vacation. But anyway, so we have been given by our power company a 50-50 chance of power being out on Christmas Eve. We are playing it by ear. We will keep you updated and let you know what our plans are, whether the service changes, whether it gets canceled, whether we're on as normal as we get closer. Sunday morning, Christmas Day, we will not be having our regular service, but we will have the church open for from 9:30, about 9:30 to 11, for anyone who just needs a space on Christmas Day to sit with the divine, to be in reflection, to have a sense of the history and mystery of this day, or just to get a little break and a little peace and quiet. The following Sunday, January 1st, New Year's Day, we will also not be having a service, and we encourage folks to start the year out in God's creation somehow, and so start the new year off that way. For both of those Sundays, I am planning on posting a weekly message. So even though I won't be giving a sermon, I'll post a little brief video message so that you have access to that. All right, so enough of the announcements. Back to our midweek moment in this fourth week of Advent. We are almost to Christmas. We have made it through hope, peace, joy, and now we are here in love. And our commentary, or our devotional that we have been spending time with this Advent, the Dawn Chorus, reminds us of how courageous the love of the Christmas story is. It is the courage that Mary had to say yes when she was asked to be the God bearer. It was the courage that Joseph had to believe Mary and to believe the angel who told him that this was something of God, not something of shame, and to stay with Mary and to raise Jesus and care for that and be a part of something so far beyond his control or probably comfort level. Those are really big life-changing events in both of those lives, and they both had the courage to step out and to stick with love. And it makes me think of the courage that it takes to be a part of the adoption triad. So in the adoption triad, there is the adoptee, there is the adopter, and there is the first parent or first parent. So, all of those things. And also including in that the courage to be foster parents, which sometimes leads to adoption, sometimes doesn't, leads to other situations. But I'm just thinking of the amount of love it takes. And as an adoptive parent, someone who's adopted from the foster care system, I will tell you, it takes not just love, but courage to love, because it's a hard thing. There are currently over 400,000 children in the United States in the foster care system. There are many, many children around the world waiting for a family in institutions, in foster homes. And it's not easy to say yes. Not all of us are called to be parents in that way. But some of us feel the nudge, perhaps, or the call, and we let fear take over and say, I could not, I couldn't do that. I couldn't possibly do that. And I know so many stories of people who have looked past that fear and said, I trust God. I trust in God's love. I trust in my capacity to love and to persevere, and I will take this step. And let me tell you, every single one of them will say, it is a hard thing. I'm sure Mary would say, this was a hard thing. Joseph would say, this was a hard thing. Jesus himself would say, this was a hard thing, but worth it. Here's what I think helps make that yes in any of those situations a little bit more possible. And that's community. Think of Mary visiting her cousin Elizabeth. Mary was not alone. Nobody in that society in that time lived in a nuclear family like we do. You don't have like a husband and wife in their own little house and that's it. There's always these extended families and networks and faith communities. And that's why there's so many rules about how those communities are supposed to operate, and that because they do live as community. And so I think that's what makes these yeses possible. And in our own time, when we want to or we feel called to do something in courageous love, to run for office, to speak out about an issue of justice, whether it's to in a greater public forum, or just in a one-on-one situation where someone has said something that's unacceptable, whether it's to become a foster parent, whether it's to travel to somewhere that could lead to you helping or being of service. And that's a whole other sort of mission trip thing. That's a whole other situation. But still, so many times we feel led to something that would require courageous love. And if we are acting alone, both in the discernment of that call and in the acting on it, it will be a lot harder and may even fail. Yet, if we are part of a community of support and encouragement, of accountability and challenge, it makes it that much easier to hear the angels that are speaking to us, to trust the messages that we're being given and the calls, and to take that step and say yes. Back to the foster care thing. As I said, not everyone is called to be a foster parent, and that's fine. But there are lots of other ways that you can help kids in foster care. And remember, kids in foster care, it's just so hard for them. They've been taken away from their family. Even if they are in situations that have been putting them in danger or harm's way, it's still their family, and that removal is hard. They're in a new place. They don't know these people. They don't know their routines, their smells, their sounds, their expectations. They don't know how long they're going to be there. They don't know what the future is going to hold for them. And if they're older, they don't know if they're going to age out of the foster care system and be out on the street, expected to live on their own as a fully functioning adult at 18, which, P.S., a lot of very well-parented, well-balanced teenagers could not do. So there are other ways that you might be called to help, to act in courageous love. Find out if there's a local foster care closet near you. So this is a place where kids in foster care or their families can go for supplies if they need them. Menstrual products, shampoo and conditioner, towels, pajamas, combs and brushes. Yes, these are all basic necessities and all things that foster kids sometimes don't have access to, or don't have access to the kinds that they really want and need. Remember, our social services run on very threadbare funds. They're not handing out like good stuff to these kids who really deserve a little bit of cushy support. You can become a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate. And I just got a message this week from someone in the CASA office in New Hampshire saying that they are very much lacking in CASA volunteers. So this is someone who advocates for the child in court. So, parents have a lawyer, kids sometimes have a lawyer and sometimes don't. Foster parents have a say when all these decisions about this kid get made. That CASA is the voice and support and advocate for that child. This perhaps is particularly important for younger, but really even for the older kids to really get to know them, form a relationship, and help discern what actions will most benefit this child, and to speak as an adult, because let's be honest, the system tends to listen to adults more than children, and speak for them. You can get trained and cleared as a respite parent. So you know what? Here's something you might not know. A lot of foster parents, you become a foster parent, you can't just hire the teenager down the street as a babysitter. You have to have someone who is cleared by the state to be with foster kids. And that means a lot of burnout for foster parents who just never get a break. So that's one way. Find ways to support birth families, first families, biological families, however you want to call it. Because in foster care, reunification should be really the first goal, if at all possible. And sometimes it's just a matter of giving those parents a little bit of extra support. We sometimes pull kids out into foster care because of issues related to poverty. And we give foster parents a lot of cool, great supports, and we don't do so much for the families of origin. So maybe if we give them a little bump up, we can keep those families intact and safe and loving and supportive, because those parents do love their kids and those kids love their parents, and it's really good if we can create that unit. Again, community. All right, I'm going to step off my foster care soapbox now, but this idea of community being a source and support of courageous love does not just apply to foster care or to adoption, but to really any of these decisions. As we enter into this time of Christmas, as we remember all the many people in the story who were able to say yes in courageous love. Let us consider the communities that supported them, that held them accountable, that offered their own courageous love when they probably had no clue what the heck was going on. And they were able to do so because they had a community to fall back on. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Advent, the last few days of Advent that we have here. I will see you again on Christmas Day. Hopefully I will see some of you in person on Christmas Eve or at our longest night service. And now I will invite you to be in a spirit and time of prayer or reflection as we just take a few deep breaths together and close this midweek moment. Expectant God, the time is near. Our hearts are full. If we're honest, perhaps our to-do lists are also more full than they should be. But here we are. The time is almost near. God, we offer thanks for Mary and Joseph and for their communities and families that surrounded them and gave them the foundation for their courageous love and their yeses to your call on their lives. We ask, God, for clarity in the ways you might be calling us to offer courageous love in the world, to say yes, even when the going will certainly be hard. And we ask for the strength to be the community for those who are offering their courageous love and their yeses. That we might surround those called ones with all the love and support and accountability and challenge that will enable them to be successful, to survive, to know that they are loved as courageously as they are offering love. Holy One, we offer these prayers and the ones we hold in our hearts to you. In the name of Emmanuel, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Have a wonderful night, everyone. See you soon.